Yes,
Selma?
that's me.
I'm Zeke Anderson. I brought Art's body back. I wanted to tell you, ma'am, I'm very, very sorry.
You're Zeke Anderson?
Yes, ma'am. You requested me as an escort.
I'm sorry. Please.
We are talking episode 11, season 2 of Tour of Duty. Now, this one is an interesting episode because it is about a real life situation that's happened and how that real life situation affects this kind of characters in this kind of TV show. Now, that real life situation was the assassination of Martin Luther King. So essentially, we have a Bravo company, you know, doing their business, so to speak, and we see like a kind of a second company led by this kind of black sergeant, I think he is, or black lieutenant, I believe it is actually, and then everyone finds out that Martin Luther King has been assassinated, and all the kind of the black GIs are understandably upset about it, and it creates racial tension within this kind of within the barracks and the base and all that, and even kind of long established relationships, like for example with Purcell, a white guy, you know, even like for example Johnson feels like punching him just because, you know, obviously Martin Luther King was killed by a white guy, and you know, so that anger is kind of spreading, so to speak. So this one deals with obviously a political issue that happens in real life. We have a second story here which is connected again, where basically Zeke Anderson has to go back to America to escort a body of another black soldier who is killed in the kind of the mission at the beginning, and has to kind of see his family, then deal with the kind of the aftermath of the assassination of Martin Luther King in America, and how this kind of black GI's family are reacting to him as a kind of a white guy. So obviously this particular kind of episode is all about kind of like racial issues, and it handles that in those two scenarios. Now, the good stuff first. I think the Zeke Anderson story is well handled once he gets to America. The one thing I would say about this is it's the typical kind of thing that this show does at times. It's like, here's a character that Zeke Anderson has known in his past, who's only just kind of popping up, and they do that a lot. There's so many kind of like characters in this whole series that Zeke Anderson knows, but we've never seen before. We've never heard him kind of mentioned or anything like that. And this is another one. And that's fun. I think you can do that from time to time. I think they do it too much, but there it is. But, you know, we're meant to believe that this guy is so close to Zeke Anderson that, you know, he requests that the family requests him to take the body back to the States. Yet when this guy is killed, like Anderson, or Terrence Knox, I should say, playing Anderson, just doesn't seem to really react to it, to me. Considering, I know he's obviously in the military and people get killed and stuff, but we're meant to believe this was someone who was a friend, and to me it was just like, this was unusual, because I think Terrence Knox is a fantastic actor in this series, but this is one instance where it was underplayed to me. The character of Anderson should have been more distraught, should have been more upset about the death of this kind of character. Where he was at the point where he was, escorting his body home. You would have thought they would have been a little closer, because it kind of, when you see those aspects, it doesn't really feel like that they were all that kind of close. However, once we get to the States and we see Anderson react with this kind of soldier's family, those bits were very well acted. I think the actors that played his kind of family, especially the wife, I thought were really strong and gave some very, very believable kind of performances. It's obviously sad. Obviously, it is still dealing with that racial kind of situation and that kind of like that anger that's kind of bubbling under the surface. I think it's his brother-in-law who's still very kind of angry towards kind of Anderson, but ultimately, for the sake of, you know, the guy who died, they sort of brush it under the carpet, so to speak. But I thought those sections were good. What wasn't so good was really the A storyline, which was this kind of this black lieutenant who really doesn't seem all that fazed by the kind of the death of Martin Luther King, and is more concerned by, you know, sticking to the rules, and he's kind of losing respect from his men, and eventually they kind of try and frag him. Now, the guy who plays this this kind of lieutenant, I don't think did necessarily a bad job, but I think the character is poorly written. It just seems like somewhat of an unrealistic portrayal, to be honest. I think the actor does the best he can with it, but it's just the way this story kind of goes, and his reactions to it when he's like, you know, he suddenly has this kind of change of heart at the end of the episode, and everyone kind of just puts their racial differences aside, and they all start playing, you know, basketball and stuff like that. I thought it was just like very, very silly, and just some of the kind of the character interactions within this kind of particular episode, we're dealing with that storyline, I thought were on the weaker side. I think the cast do the best job that they can with it, but I think the writing on this particular one is relatively kind of poor. Now this, interestingly, is a little kind of side note. This was actually aired on the I think it was the 21st anniversary of Martin Luther's death in real life. To me, I don't know if that is somewhat disrespectful, but it is what it is, but there you go. And obviously it isn't important trying to deal with these race issues that obviously cropped up then and still crop up now, but particularly when dealing with a historical event like the assassination of Martin Luther King and stuff like that. But I think it was just kind of like over too quick. These kind of like it never really amounted to anything. I felt like the black soldiers, and Taylor seems to be, out of all of them, seems to be the kind of the one who is a little bit more, keeps his kind of head on his shoulders, so to speak. Johnson just seems to kind of like really kind of like lose it and stuff like that. But to me, it wasn't sort of, again, it should have been maybe a 2-episode arc, something along the lines of that. Again, it's just trying to kind of get it done and dusted within that kind of one episode. And I've got to say, I think the writing was a little weaker on this one. I like it for the scenes in America with Anderson. If it wasn't for that, I would give this a 4 out of 10. But I'll give it a 5 because I think those scenes were very well handled. But the actual scenes that take place in Vietnam were one of the weaker kind of elements of this one. So it's a 5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.